Welcome to What's Up Poland, the regular video show about Poland hosted by thefirstnews.com. So this is the alarming news that, according to reports from the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry, upwards of 115,000 Russian soldiers are amassing on the Russian-Ukrainian border. Soldiers comprising of 40 tactical battle groups who normally come up to the border in the past few years and then depart have actually stayed at the border. Added to which, a Ukrainian general called Kirill Budanov has announced that, has stated at least, that Russia is preparing for an attack on Ukraine for January or the start of February with about 100,000 soldiers. Here we go again. Of course, this happened in 2014, as anybody with a brain knows. Suddenly, Crimea got annexed by Russia after a mysterious series of green men just happened to come from the country with one of the world's best private armies, Wagner Group amongst others, appeared and took over part of Ukraine. So we all remember the remarkable events of 2014 when the Ukrainian people threw up and took back their country. Quite extraordinary, really, to think that inside Europe, something like that could still happen. We're not so far from the past and the events of the past as we like to think, especially not in this region. I hate the idea of war. Everything I've ever read, you know, as a little boy, you just think it sounds the most exciting thing ever. But when you learn what it really means, you just don't want to see any more. And of course, Russia has kept the gas pipe on that conflict on. It's simmering, it's low, but there are drone-based attacks and sniper attacks on that border as we speak. And yet again, because of the way the media system works and because of the way our attention works, the rest of the world isn't interested. Nobody cares about Ukraine anymore. They might care again this January, February. Of course, it matters to people in Poland for geopolitical reasons. And where have we got here? Well, a few things have been happening. So the US have been shifting a whole bunch of equipment to Ukraine. And again, if you were to look at that from the Russian point of view, you could see that as a provocative move. There are UK and US military units in Ukraine. And of course, as I think most people now know in Poland, there are UK and US military units in Poland as well. So that would be considered quite provocative. We know that the US is considering selling or equipping Ukraine with even more advanced tech, but there's been all sorts of things there. And since 2014, I think of something like the Ukrainian army had about 5,000 soldiers. Not top 10 stuff. Well, they got a lot more equipment now, a lot more equipment. I remember I met a US soldier who'd served in Iraq and I believe Afghanistan, and I asked him how long it would take the Russian army to get to Warsaw. In his opinion, just his opinion, 3 days. These guys are tough. They're tough and they're mean. And they're no friends of ours. So what am I to comment on something like this? Well, I did study, finally, my international relations degree comes in handy. So I did do international relations, and I know there are various political theories, and I've also worked for a few ministers in my time, and I've seen the way the world works. And again, we're not so far away from the history of the past. I remember on one of the rare occasions in my university years, when I did some actual studying, I went to the university library, and for some reason I ended up reading a big book with US Congress, official Congress reports and things like that. And I found some reports of President Ronald Reagan's meetings with the various officials. And I happened to come across some notes of a conversation he had about Solidarność and martial law. And it specifically stated that the President Ronald Reagan had said there was no way in hell he was going to go. Sorry, there was no way. He didn't say hell. There was no way he was going to go to war for Poland. And I don't know why, but that stuck in my mind. And it's always stuck in my mind as part of my studies that, you know, international relations is a pretty brutal game, as anyone who knows anything about Russia is already well aware. There's a reason why that conflict hasn't stopped. There's a reason why it's simmering. There's also a reason why the border, quote, migration crisis happened with Poland and Belarus. Belarus, of course, is a stated ally of the Russians. Now, if someone was to say, is Putin doing this because he wants to invade Ukraine? Who knows? We'll never know what's going in there. So it's all speculation anyway, just like it was back in the Cold War. But you also have to say, well, if you're not a member of NATO, then good luck for you if something's going to kick off, because ultimately what Reagan said in the 80s is still true now. So I'm worried. I'm worried. And I am happy as a pig in the proverbial when it comes to the fact that Poland's part of NATO. It's impossible to describe how important that is for the safety of this country. Now, I did a recent story on What's Up Poland in which we talked about I did a recent post on Twitter talking about the fact that there were British and US units in Poland. And a lot of Polish people, I have to say, a fair number, said to me, oh, I'll never trust them. You know, they let us down in 39. You know, it was the same in 39, someone said to me. I said, was it the same? Really? I don't remember there being UK and US armed forces in Poland in 1939. And I also don't remember Poland being part of the NATO alliance. So you can talk about history, but you also have to realize that the circumstances have changed really quite dramatically. Ukrainian army is better equipped. And yet again, when I read global newspapers, I don't see anyone really talking about this country and this place. So what can we do? We can only watch and wait. And we can only cross our fingers that the hell that was visited on Ukraine doesn't happen this early winter. But be sure to follow What's Up Poland, where you'll find out more news about not only this beautiful country, but the region around it. We'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll be offering our opinion. And let me know what you think. What is Vladimir Putin and his gang of cronies and all the rest up to? You can write to us in the comments below. I'll see you there.